It's our first full day. What a dream come true. Seriously, man, I've been wanting to do this for such a long time. Coming to the Amazon and fishing in these beautiful waters. Let's hope we can get some big fish. Oh, that followed me right there. He just came up twice. So one thing I'm finding really beneficial where I'm getting most of my hits is way back underneath these branches. So having a topwater lure like this one, this TA crossover, this thing skips really well. So I can shoot it in low, kind of at the front of the branches, and it'll hit and skip and go all the way back. So it takes a little bit of practice getting that technique so it hits and skips. But that's pretty much where I've been getting all my hits, is when I've really shot it all the way back. Or when I throw it over a limb like that. There's a lot of times where you get these lures wrapped around these branches, and if you sit there and just go real slow and tug on it, you usually end up catching. But if you get it right where you can see it, where it's just over the branch, and then give it a quick snap, it'll come right out. So if you go slow, the hook's gonna catch on the top of the branch. So you get it so it's just dangling, and then give it a quick jerk, and it just kind of pendulums it out. And a lot of times you'll get it out of there. Believe me, I've had a lot of practice. Oh, I launched that into the tree. Oh man. When you're casting into heavy structure and branches and everything else as much as we are, your leader eventually gets whittled down. So I make myself a longer leader and then just keep chopping it down because you want to retie. It's getting frayed up. So got my Seaguar Premier fluorocarbon, and it really holds up well to this. So because it's such heavy cover, I'm using 50 pound. I wish I had a cast counter, because man, we've made a lot of casts today. Yeah. I think one thing that's really important when you're fighting these fish is having your equipment set up right. You really actually want to be fishing a pretty tight drag, because these things will run up around a branch. There's no reason to give them line because the kayak is moving so easily. So many of these times I've hooked a fish and I've wound myself right to the tree that they're wrapping themselves in. You need to be able to wind fast, keep tension on that thing, and try to get out of there as quick as possible. Don't let them have any line. Wow, you can see what I mean, how you get pulled into here. You better be fishing a tight drag if you hook into a big fish. There's no way you're gonna land it, because this is a small fish. I'm just gonna do a quick release on him. There we go. But I toss this way back in this pocket and lock to drag and just grind on it. He's still got wrapped up in a branch over here. Tight drag, wind fast. It makes these small fish really fun. Oh! Oh! Being attacked by bees here. So yeah, fish really heavy drag, high gear ratio reel that you can really wind on that thing. And like I said, you're pretty much gonna wind yourself to the fish. Geez, go away. I don't know, they say there's a bee shortage in the world. There's not a bee shortage here. Damn it. Freaking bugs.
It seems like the moment you get here, the moment you go out to fish, you get 2 bees assigned to each person.
It's the weirdest thing is, as soon as you slow down, you immediately have a couple of them buzzing around your head. And they generally don't sting you, they don't do anything, but they are right here around your head driving you nuts. But it is fun once in a while, you can smack one out of the air. Ha ha ha! Ha! All bugs must die!
Just fly around your head the entire time. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen. They're like your personal bodyguards. I don't know. Maybe it's a Brazilian thing.
Ow, damn it. Something bit me on the arm and I jerked and then the hook went into my hand. I mean, I was worried about mosquitoes coming here and there's been virtually no mosquitoes.
These fish, they're very aggressive, but they're also snobs. We would get a bite and a big blow up, and you know, I would pick up the fly sometimes and land it back down, and it's like the fish was never there. They won't come back.
That was that same spot I got blown up on earlier. Come on. How can they miss it? Woo! Well, I've had a little bit of frustration because I've had a lot of blow-ups that they just weren't coming up and actually getting this thing in their mouth. This guy committed to it. Another peacock bass, but a different species. So you can see this one, unlike the other one that had the couple of big spots, this one's covered with small spots. What an exciting fish to catch when they're hitting that topwater like that. Settle down. Ooh, what a pretty fish these are. That light on there. Beautiful fish. Tiny, but beautiful.
So there are 3 different species. There is the Peacock, which is kind of like the darker peacock bass with the dots. And there's the butterfly, which is the most common one. And Azul, that's actually the one with the stripes. We saw a lot more butterfly and Peacock than the last one I mentioned, but luckily enough, we actually landed some quality fish, some good fish, a lot of them. All right.
Good fun, variety. At least they're coming out, seem a little more aggressive now.
These fish, once they bite, they're freight trains. I mean, they fight hard. They want to get you in the branches, they want to get you in the trees and get that fly out of their mouth. They're very smart.
Well, it's not as big as I thought. He hit like a freight train though. Another butterfly peacock bass. Right up under those branches. Skipped it up in there. Woo! They're tough fish, man. I can imagine when you catch a really big one, they gotta be really tough because they love to run right back around those branches. We chose to bring the Jackson Kayak Coosa HD. I don't think we could have picked a better boat. It's got every feature you would need for this fishery. I mean, it's maneuverable, it's standable, and it paddles pretty good. I'm really stoked we brought this boat on this trip.
Well, we're doing a little change of lures right now. I'm getting some advice from the guide. I was throwing some poppers on fly this morning. Not very productive, but only had good action. But for some reason, it didn't seem to want to get a bite. So I'm gonna switch to the bait caster for a little while, just to hopefully catch a fish, boost up my confidence, and continue through the day. And it looks like he's gonna pick a jig. He thinks that's a good option right now, too. I always like to mingle with the guides, the locals. I like to learn the language as much as I can. I like to learn about their culture, what they like, where they go, what they eat, what kind of music they listen to, how they dance. And that to me is almost as important as the fishing. Okay. Obrigado or obrigado?
Obrigado.
Obrigado. Obrigado. And I can go to a lot of places and fish and land a lot of fish. But if at the end of the day I don't talk to anybody and I don't learn anything new about people, that's just not enjoyable to me. And that's the kind of thing I like to include in all of my trips. And I call that the organic experience. You know, you want to make sure that you learn as much as you can in a very short period of time and make your trip worth it. There you go. I guess I made the right decision by switching.
Well, we're kind of wrapping up our first day on the water. Our first full day on the water anyway. And a little bit of a learning curve, trying to figure out what works for us. And man, really working on casting accuracy, because you got to get your cast right up underneath these tree limbs, and we've caught a lot of trees. Missed a bunch of fish, but I've also landed quite a few, so super fun day, man. I mean, we're in the Amazon. I mean, what more could we ask? Yeah, that is very much like a barracuda, isn't it? Look at those teeth. Damn, he's slimy.